During the primordial days, shortly after Ao created the universe, he split reality into two polar forces. Shar embodying darkness, loss and stillness, and Selûne embodying light, creation and change. These gods are older than the creation of the planes, time and even magic. They are primordial goddesses. They do not exist out of belief and did not ascend from mortalhood. They were forged by Ao himself. Their origin is detailed in Faiths and Pantheons, Forgotten Realms campaign guide, and supported by 3rd and 4th edition lore. It is implied that they are the first forces of duality, light and dark, change and stasis, life and void. If this is your first episode, I suggest going back to episode 1 for information about Ao, the overgod, and in episode 3 we do a deep dive into some of the oldest gods that survived the Dawn War. And if you're interested in learning more about Shar Selûne, stay put, because that's exactly who we are talking about today. Legend has it that at the dawn of time, Lord Ao created the universe, and out of the early chaos came twin deities, Shar of the darkness and Selûne of light, and together they created from the cosmic ether Aber Toril and other heavenly bodies, and infused these worlds with life. In the process, they formed the goddess Shantea, at that time the embodiment of all matter in the realm space, whom they worked with to bless the worlds with life. This universe was illuminated by the cool radiant face of Selûne and darkened by the hair and welcoming embrace of Shar. However, there was no fire or heat on any of these bodies. Desiring to nurture life from the worlds that formed her body and limbs, Shantea asked the two-faced goddess for warmth. Then, for the first time, Selûne and Shar were divided, being of two minds on whether they should let there be more life on the worlds or not. In Elminster's Ecologies, the Archmage talks about the goddesses as balance. Sisters born of the void, Selûne bright and ever-changing, Shar still and ever-hiding, yin and yang. Their dance lit the heavens, and their quarrel scarred them. Elminster describes Selûne as the bringer of light and warmth, the one who lit the stars and ignited the first sun to warm the newborn worlds. She is seen as a guiding force, kind but not naive, ever shifting like the tides and phases of the moon. He calls her the first to dream of life, implying that Selûne's desires shape the form of the realms we know. Shar is to Elminster a being of stillness and sorrow, not by evil nature, but corrupted by jealousy and solitude. He writes that Shar loved her sister deeply, but when Selûne kindled the first light, Shar felt betrayed, and that wound never healed. To Elminster, Shar is both tragic and terrifying. She embodies the emptiness that lies behind every light, and secrets that no spell can uncover. Since the creation of the sun, these two are always at war with one another, constantly fighting like two siblings would, only at a cosmic and divine level. Nowadays, they rarely clash directly, but when time was but a concept, they tore at each other endlessly. Their endless fight slowed down but never stopped. It's as if they were made to be opposed to each other, as if they were perfectly balanced. At some point, the dark goddess Shar got the upper hand and doused many of Selûne's motes of light. And in a desperate move, Selûne tore a piece of magical essence from herself and hurled it at her sister. When it hit, Shar also lost a portion of her essence and was cast into the void for centuries. From the blending of dark and light energies, Mystryl was born as a being of pure magic, inextricably tied to the weave. Both of the twins were diminished as a result, with the Moon Maiden's wound being more grave. However, Mystryl was ideologically closer to Selûne, and being created from both light and darkness, Mystryl acted as a balancing force between Selûne and the Lady of Loss. Elminster credits this moment as a true beginning of the weave, the arcane tapestry through which all magic flows. Now Mystra's origins are a bit complicated. The part of Selûne that was torn off formed Mystryl, the first incarnation of Mystra. Mystryl came from that weave and became the goddess of magic. Those who spoke to her could never tell what version of her they would meet. Her chaotic nature caused her to be coldly serious one moment and laughing boisterous the next. She could shift from sagely wise to extremely unfocused, and back to dedicated between conversations. Mystra was very trusting and naive, but when she discovered someone has misused her trust, she would take their ability to use the weave away, removing them from magic, making spellcasting impossible, even preventing the use of magical items. Shar was jealous. She saw the weave that Selûne created, and whenever her sister created something, she shortly followed, either destroying it or creating an opposing copy. So Shar tore off a piece of her own essence to create the Shadow Weave, and schemed with the god of trickery, Cyric, to kill Mystryl. She wanted to replace the weave with her dark version. They successfully killed Mystryl, causing the Spell Plague, an era without most magic in the world. And when magic users tried to use her Shadow Weave, they too failed to catch any magical essence. Shar had made a bad mistake. You see, if the weave was the internet, the Shadow Weave is the dark web. The Shadow Weave runs off the weave. It relies on it, and when Mystra was killed, all the magic that Shar corrupted to create her weave disappeared as well. In that way, the Shadow Weave is weaker than the original, but using it would mean that you either worshipped Shar, or that your patron deity and Shar had made a deal. In almost all cases, it would cost you a piece of your mind, permanently. Many of Shar's most powerful servants were once normal spellcasters, but most are now simply marionettes of Shar, hollow husks with barely anything remaining from when they were immortal. She then combined the plane of shadow and the remnants of the negative energy plane to create the Shadowfell, where she still rules over darkness ever since. When the goddess of magic was reborn, she immediately took control of the weave, and magic returned to Toril. This time, the new goddess took a much more lawful view of magic and its use, and laid down some rules, including a decree that the most powerful of spells would fail utterly. Every spell, arcane or divine, still runs through the system she governs, and Shar still seeks to destroy or corrupt it to this day. Both the weave and the Shadow Weave were reinstated. If we take a look at Elminster's count, he remarks that the war between light and dark did not end. It merely grew subtle. Shar's servants are still at work, spreading sorrow, secrecy, and shadow, even as Selûne's light watches over the lost and the faithful. Just like Mystra never chose a side, she distrusted Shar and felt Selûne was overly maternal. Elminster always talks with a trace of respect about the goddesses. He sees them not just as goddesses, but as primordial forces locked in an ancient, necessary battle. The mixing of Selûne and Shar's magical essence birthed the weave, so she too is credited for creating it. Yet Shar wanted more. She waged a war against Mystryl, a fight now known as the Second Sundering, where she sought to usurp the weave and become the new goddess of magic. Mistress chosen, the likes of Elminster, Azuth, and Kelvin, were able to intercept and counteract Shar's plans to drain the magic ley lines of the weave. Elminster managed to collect the essence of Mystra that was scattered throughout the lands in the form of blue flame, and he absorbed the raw magical flux to return the energy to the vestige of Mystra, remains of the goddess of magic and guardian of the weave. A quote from the books: "From twin souls came war, from war came magic, and from magic all things followed. In the endless dance between shadow and moonlight, the story of the realms begins." The very existence of Shar is a paradoxical one. She was brought into existence when the realm was created by Eo, but she is the living embodiment of the void. The perfect nothing that existed before the first dawn. The emptiness that she originally reflected had itself been erased at the start of time. And she longed to return to the ancient calm of non-existence. And so she would disrupt order, bring down established systems, and undo everything. It's incredible that the information about Shar has been uncovered at all, because if it were up to her, she would have kept all the information about her concealed. A secret for that secret's sake. But Ao decided that all gods need worship for their power. And maybe that's why she decided to uncover some of her secrets. Her own devoted worshippers are simply pawns in her overarching scheme against everything there ever was and ever would be. Even the creation of the Shadow Weave is said to be out of spite, so Shar can deny its power to any being, mortal or deity. Selûne, on the other hand, is often thought of as the positive, perfect opposite of Shar. But she too has changing moods and natures. Enthusiastic, motherly, but also weighed down by sadness, and even aggressive and fierce at times. For her enemies, she would have little mercy and act very cold. But she is well known for her forgiving of her followers' faults. Mortals would often get bestowed gifts and blessings, as she was a generous god. She was believed to control the ebb and flow of the tides and to comfort those in need during the night. She had infused her spirit with the moon and there eternally watched over the world. Babies born beneath the full moon often grew up to exhibit magical talent, thanks to Selûne's link with Mystra. Meanwhile, those conceived under moonlight were believed to have the moon alive within them, and were expected to return to the worship of Selûne. During the spell plague, Selûne granted her followers parts of her light magic, and magic weapons and artifacts, all to counteract Shar's growing dark powers. She supported Mystra's legacy by sheltering and aiding individuals trying to preserve remnants of the weave. So how do you use this information in your campaign? Whether you're running a homebrew or playing in the Forgotten Realms, the mythic conflict between Shar, Selûne and Mystra can enrich your campaign with divine stakes, magical tension and complex moral drama. Perhaps a new moon eclipse allows Shar's cult to perform a long-forbidden ritual. Or maybe a blessed child is born under a full moon in the Shadow Realm and is destined to carry a spark of Selûne's power there. Make magic itself unstable when the weave is under threat. Spells could fizzle, wild surges occur, or ley lines shift. Introduce a secret war between Mystra's Chosen and the shadow agents of Shar, with the players caught in the middle. You don't need to start with the gods and magic collapsing. Begin with a missing moon, or a shattered magical relic, or dreams of a woman in silver fire. And then slowly pull back the veil. Let your players realize they're standing in the shadow of ancient goddesses, whose war has been quietly shaping their lives all along. If you wish to learn more about these subjects, I've compiled a list of sources in the show notes. Some notable ones are The Faiths and Pantheons, a 3rd edition detailed entry on Shar, Selûne, Mystra, Mystryl. Very interesting to read. Forgotten Realms campaign settings is a 3rd and 4th edition overview of the realm's cosmology, pantheons, structures, and magical systems. And of course, the Elminster series by Ed Greenwood, especially Elminster in Hell and Elminster's Daughter. These give a good insight into how Elminster views the world, and I think they're very interesting. Oh, and let's not forget the Forgotten Realms wiki, which is a fan-made but very thorough wiki full of all the lore and important characters that exist in D&D. If you like this episode, I would greatly appreciate it if you would rate it. Share it with your players or your DM. Post it somewhere on Reddit or in a Discord group. If you're listening to this podcast in 2025, then congratulations, you are one of the first listeners of Lore Untangled. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Next Wednesday, we will dive deeper into the Weave. I want to tell you about how it works. I've been your host, the voice of the realm, Melt. Why do paladins prefer chainmail? Because it's holy armor.